me okay? Okay.
I didn't know that.
Mr. DeCorda? Mr. Fox? Mr. Kendrick?
Here.
Mr. Maffett? Ms. Flatley?
Here.
Mr. Nicely?
Here.
Mr. Palavoda?
Here.
Yes, member, Ms. Moncur. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so now we will do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then if you can remain standing for the invocation.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come before you with hearts open and hands lifted, grateful for the breath of life and the promise of your abundance. Plant within us the seeds of wisdom, kindness, and perseverance, that we may grow in grace and bear good fruit in every season. Let our words be like refreshing rain, our actions like nourishing soul, and our faith like a steadfast tree rooted in your truth. Bless the work of our hands, the thoughts of our minds, and the desires of our hearts, that we may flourish from your glory and the good of others. May our lives overflow with love, joy, peace, and purpose, and may the harvest we reap be the testimony of your faithfulness. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. All right, so if we can look over the minutes from November 12th. I'll look for a motion of any comments and or a motion.
I motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Thank you. Next, we'll open the citizen public comment period. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person to afford everyone an opportunity to speak. If your comments relate specifically to the public hearing later on in the evening, please offer them at that time. All right, since no one has signed up, I'll ask if there's anybody in the room that would like to offer public comment for our citizen public comment. And is there anybody online?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Seeing as there was no public comment, I assume there's no discussion of public comment. We'll move on to the Community Planning Liaison Officer, Naval Support Facility, South Potomac, Dahlgren, Mr. Adam Lynch. Good evening.
Good evening, Adam Lynch, Community Planning and Liaison Officer for Naval Support Facility, Dahlgren. I regret my absence for the last couple of months. I know you guys understand we had a little shutdown in our government, but it's good to be back here at the Government Center to meet with my fellow planning commissioners. Couple of good news items, as I just shared with you, and you were aware of this, but Caledon State Park officially expanded with an addition of 455 acres, which represents about an 18% increase in the size of the park, thanks in part to a funding allocation by the Navy. Other partners, of course, were involved, but the Navy was able to participate in that funding due to our Readiness and Environmental Protection Integration Program, which provides funding for conservation projects that promote open space within mission areas of the base. So our mission, as always, is to promote compatible uses within those mission areas, and sometimes that means putting down Department of War funding for those particular areas to be preserved perpetually. So we appreciate the other partners we had in this effort, and I did want to read a statement that's included in that press release from our commanding officer, Captain John Nader. He said, "Thank you to the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation and the Trust for Public Land for the expansion of Caledon State Park. The support of our neighbors and community partners is absolutely critical to Naval Support Activity South Potomac accomplishing its missions. This expansion enhances the recreational opportunities for our service members while also protecting the rural land uses and natural resources that ensure those critical base operations continue. This represents a win for the community, a win for the base, and a win for Virginia." My second item and last item is we were pleased to attend the Virginia Military Advisory Council, myself and Captain Nader. That is a biannual convocation of installation commanders from across Virginia. There's about 25 installation commanders that participate in that group that is administered by the Virginia Secretary of Military and Defense Affairs, Captain, former Admiral, am I right? Craig Crenshaw. It was our, we attend every year. This meeting of the VMAC was attended by outgoing Governor Glenn Youngkin. So we were glad to see him on his farewell tour and look forward to meeting the new incoming Secretary of the Spanberg administration whenever they are announced. That represents my update. Happy to take any questions, ma'am.
No questions, just my sincere thanks. I think this is a wonderful news update. It's wonderful for our county, and I'm so appreciative of everybody that had a part to play in it.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is a public hearing for application Z-2025-00304 Powhatan Road Solar Farm.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to give a very brief overview of the application and then turn it over to the applicants. Representatives from Powhatan Solar Farm LLC and Larry Carr Jr. have applied for a special exception permit to construct a medium-scale solar facility on approximately 24 acres zoned A1, located at 8375 Powhatan Road. The area proposed for the solar facility is on a larger parcel that's approximately 158 acres in size. The subject property lies within the Rappahannock River Rural Development Area as designated in the comprehensive plan. The application addresses compliance with each of the performance standards listed in section 778 of the zoning ordinance, including a preliminary decommissioning plan. The applicants have been working closely with staff to address any comments they had, as well as emergency planning and training needs for fire and rescue. The same reviewing agencies will be contacted for comments should this project proceed to the site plan stage. There are 18 draft permit conditions included in resolution PC-19-25 for your consideration, and draft motions are included at the end of the staff report. I'll now turn it over to Kara with ESA. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right. I'm glad I have access to the clicker tonight so I don't have to distract with next slide. But good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you again for the time and the opportunity to present tonight. For those joining us just tonight, my name is Kara Romaine and I'm the project manager for the Powhatan Road Solar Project. Again, we appreciated the time last month to present at the work session. The questions and comments you raised then directly shaped tonight's presentation. In your packets, you should also have a memorandum that looks like this. This memo includes the technical responses and supplemental information requested, and I'll walk through the highlights tonight. With me again tonight is our landowner, Larry Carr, and co-owner of ESA, Justin Vandenbroek. And before diving into updates, I'd like to briefly restate the purpose of the Powhatan Road project and clarify a few points raised at the work session. This project is intended to be part of the Virginia Shared Solar Program. This is a limited 250 megawatt program that allows projects 5 megawatts or less to participate. The program allows Dominion Energy customers to subscribe to a portion of a solar project and receive around 10% electricity bill savings each month. Projects are subscribed on a first come, first served basis, and as a 4.99 megawatt project, this could provide power for around 1,000 homes. Now, again, just to orient everybody on the location of the project, it's located in the heart of the James Madison district. Oops. And then the site is located east of Port Conway Road and west of Millbank Road. We expect all construction access to primarily use Port Conway Road given the recent updates from the Hop Yard development. Last month, there were questions about stormwater management and erosion and sediment control. As required by both county and Virginia DEQ regulations, we will submit a full erosion and sediment control plan as well as a stormwater management plan. The environmental permitting process is incredibly strict in Virginia, and any plans have to be approved by DEQ and the county before we can start any land use or any land disturbance. The preservation of forests to the north and south of arrays, as well as required stormwater features, will ensure proper management of erosion and sediment. The flat topography of the site eliminates the need for grading, which is a major benefit when it comes to stormwater management. As presented last time, the project will only utilize, and as Kelly said too, approximately 24 acres of 158 total acres of the property. Larry's home, as I mentioned, the forests, the remaining 40 acres of farmland, and his animals will all remain on the property. And then again, as presented last month, this is just a size comparison of the project to the nearby horse track, just showing the smaller scale project in relation and showing context. Now, I won't go through the entire site tour as I did last month, but just touch on key points. But again, I'm happy to go through anything additional. Starting on the west side of the project, here is the existing conditions again. And as we maybe go forward to at start of construction, we'll be planting a 30-foot wide landscape buffer around the perimeter of the project. This will contain trees, small shrubs around in the buffer, and these will be 6 feet tall at planting. Again, I do just want to point out the distribution line in this photo, as this is the distribution and electrical line the project will connect to. We do have a fully executed interconnection agreement with Dominion Energy, and this agreement legally allows us to connect to the power line for the life of the project. And this power line runs to the existing substation a couple miles away. And then fast forward to 5 years of growth, we do expect the trees to grow and largely conceal the project, especially for drivers going along Powhatan Road. And now moving to the middle of the site, I will not touch on everything as I did, as I mentioned last month, but the main thing I want to highlight on this slide is that the great thing about this site is that we don't need to clear 24 acres to put the panels on. The area is already cleared of land. And if there does need to be any tree clearing there, that would be evaluated at a later date. But as you can see here, you know, there might be some trimming just for shading purposes, but we don't expect to clear anything beyond that. This slide shows several site features, but I want to focus on primarily the left photo in terms of vegetation management. This project is designed to be as what we call agrivoltaics or grazing ready. However, if grazing does not occur, maintenance will primarily consist of periodic mowing between the panel rows. To a certain extent, we do want, though, the ground cover to grow and establish a strong, healthy root structure, because that does play a very large role in that stormwater management and making sure that we have a healthy control of runoff and sediment control. But we also want to make sure that we are maintaining it for growth so that that doesn't shade panels or that it just doesn't become unruly. But large-scale herbicide applications are not used as part of the maintenance. Here, I just want to highlight that we will be using crystalline silicon solar panels. These are non-hazardous, safe products, panels. They are primarily made of similar products as what we have in our cell phones. You have the glass, you have the metal, and you have the technology inside, which is very similar to what solar technology uses. And if we want to talk any more on product composition, Justin can answer anything with an engineer background. And then finishing up the site tour on the east side, again, we have the existing conditions of the site. Fast forward to what the project would look like at start of construction. Again, we do expect there might be temporary visual impacts for folks driving along Powhatan Road, but there is that planted 30-foot wide buffer with 6 feet tall trees. Again, fast forwarding to about 5 years, we do expect the trees to grow and cover the panels. If there are any trees that need to be replaced, that is a requirement with our conditions of approval to ensure that that buffer remains healthy and strong. Construction for a project of this size will typically last around 6 to 9 months. Staff has included a condition limiting the work to certain hours and days that we're allowed to conduct construction. The pile driving, as we mentioned last time, is typically the loudest part of construction, but for a project of this size, it should only last a couple of weeks. Again, with the robust forest to the north and the south in the distance to homes and the nearby horse training facility, farming operations, we don't expect there to be any negligible noise impacts. We are in communication with those neighbors, the horse training facilities, and we do want to be good neighbors to them and ensure we're not impacting their businesses and other neighbors in the area. But again, we have to adhere to the conditions of approval, which limit us to certain hours and days. Last month, there were several questions about decommissioning. As Kelly mentioned, we have submitted a decommissioning plan prepared by a third-party engineer that includes the full cost to remove the facility and restore the site. State requires us to update the cost of the plan and the decommissioning bond every 5 years. Madam Chair, you asked specifically last month about infrastructure deeper than 36 inches. State law and our plan lays out that we will remove everything up to 36 inches deep, and our plan will be that, and we do not expect there to be anything deeper than 36 inches. And regarding piles as well, our intent in industry standards is to remove all piles. Again, with construction, as you drive the piles down and there's that equipment that can remove piles if need be, it's the same thing with decommissioning. We fully expect that as it goes in, we can remove it right out. And these are highlighting just 4 of the main conditions. As staff mentioned, there's 18 total, but wanted to highlight what we think are the 4 most important. But as I mentioned about construction, but we're going to be testing water quality at 3 different intervals. Like I mentioned, we have to submit that erosion and sediment control stormwater plans before we can start construction. We recognize that King George is a Navy County, and we are committing to making sure that the Department of Defense reviews our equipment and making sure it's compatible with their operations. And I know last month it was requested that we reach out to Chief Moody. There is a condition about coordinating with fire and rescue, but I did speak with him and he does not have issues with the project so long as we, of course, comply with this condition, which we are happy to do so. And I just want to again express our gratitude to the King George community, the neighbors who many of them are in the room tonight, for their feedback in helping shape this design presented to you tonight, as well as the organizations that we've been able to contribute to throughout the process. And just to wrap up, we thank you for your time, and we believe that the Powhatan Road project is a responsible, low-impact use that preserves almost 90% of this property, that meets county requirements, and delivers a well-screened project that blends into the surrounding area. And we're available for questions if needed.
All right, so we will have a chance to discuss this after the public comment period, but if anybody has any specific questions they would like to ask the applicant. Okay.
Good.
In that case, we'll move ahead to the open public comment. Again, comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. If you. All right, Mr. Thomas Joshin. Thank you.
Well, if you want to click start. You guys ready? It's very simple. I think you should approve the project and take a vote on it. I'm a numbers kind of guy. So this is 24 acres out of 158. That's 15% of his property. That means 85% is still agriculture or forested. I live in the largest housing community in that district, which is Hop Yard Farms. The impact to property values is 0.8% or less. And that I get my crazy numbers from USA Today. I did a little bit of research on that. Yeah, I think the board should, give this a thumbs up. It's Larry's property is asking for the exemption. I've known them for just a couple of years. Great people. It sounds solid. They've got a decommissioning. I think the decommissioning and the environmental impact are the best things to have solid. And where I would put the onus would be on the county for the bond to invest the bond money, if that's legally allowed, to account for inflation, for future cost, for whenever it comes to that time for decommissioning. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Larry Carr?
I'm sure I don't have to introduce myself because this is about me. I've been on this, I'm 72 years old. I've spent 50 years on this farm. The other 22 years on my uncle's farm in Hanover County. And at the age now, I don't have that many options for an income. And Pat and I are afraid, for what we can do to help us through the rest of our lives. And we had thoughts and prayers there, and when I've talked to Kara and Justin there, they've asked my questions about this project. And I don't think it'll have the environmental impact that a lot of people are trying to say. There are a lot of other things out there that have more of an impact. But I didn't have a 15% figures. The only thing I know is 23 acres of land that won't be farmed. And one of the fields that's taken there is not a good farm field. It's wet in the winter and it's dry in the summer. I mean, it's wet for crops. It's not like it's wet to plant a house on. But planting crops, if it's not planted the right time, it doesn't work. So this field here, is not that much used to agriculture. And the other side of the road, I know this land. I've been over this land for 50-some years. I can show you every good spot in it and every bad spot. And I appreciate the board's time, you know, in hearing my project. This is basically about my future. Thank you.
Thank you. Justin Green?
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. I'm coming forward to speak in favor of the proposed solar project on Powhatan Road. It's proposed to be on 24 acres of a 158-acre farm, and the landowner and his wife would be using the revenue to live on and continue operating and enjoying the farm that has been in his family for nearly 100 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Tony Scaramuzzoni? Scaramuzzoni. I'm sorry. This is the worst part of the job.
That name is just to filter out phishing phone calls. I always know when they're not involved in our life. I'm Tony Scaramuzzoni, Anthony Scaramuzzoni. I've been on the Planning Commission for 14 years. Looking at this from a purely objective systems engineering view of the world, looking at my county and my friend's property right down the street, and I look at it from a position of risk. So I will tell you that to the neighbors, I could not determine any real sufficient risk, because if you look at the neighbor, they have horses and such, but so does Larry. Whatever happens to his horses, you know, if there's a byproduct of construction, then his horses would be hit with the issues first. But I don't see it, like they said, it's a few weeks, a little bit of noise, a little bit of dust. The horses have been there a long time. Risk to the county is a little different. But knowing that they have a full up decommissioning plan, including a bond, and I didn't hear it mentioned, but they also plan to maintain it through its life. So as it dilapidates, they'll replace sections and, you know, bring it back up as they have. I think I read in their document that after it reaches a certain level of decline, they'll repair that. And the panels themselves are described as more modern. It's not like the stuff you see down 17 sitting on the side of the field. You know, it's nothing like that. It's a much better product. And the trackers, these units are going to be trackers, and they're going to be higher. So the trackers mean they can be moved, controlled, right? And so I was pretty impressed with that because it improves the outcome on the ground that otherwise would have been with a straight unit or slanted unit, and you get a 30% gain in output. I really am just conveying to you the information that I parsed for you to consider. I'm not in this to give a go or a recommendation. That is not my goal. So, and I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is it Carol Greeley?
I'm on the adjacent property that does not have the horses. I'm next to him on the other side, closer to Millbank. The Carrs and the Greeleys have known each other for 75 years. He's been my neighbor for 26. I know he needs this. He approached us earlier in the spring to let us know that as he retired, he was not going to be able to guarantee he could put food on his own table after putting food on all of ours for his lifetime. I do, however, ask the board to please note that while they're saying, oh, it'll be 9 months of pile driving. Every day when I'm on spring break, I work for our school system, I have to listen to pile driving. And so do the farmers that are farming directly across the street from my property as they are out in the fields. Is there a way, I ask not that you don't approve this, but rather can we tighten maybe some of the restrictions of the noise during that time? Also making sure that the buses are safely able to move up and down Powhatan Road. And all those of us are going to work so that the large equipment is being moved in maybe after the rush hour period, because it's a very tight road and it's difficult to get down as it stands, particularly when some folks who've moved in from places like New York City can't drive on these back roads and they're trying to come up and down the road. So I'm not saying against it, I'm saying in favor, but please look at the immediacy and help those of us who live right there out with maybe what we can do to mitigate the impact on us while helping out a neighbor.
Thank you. James Shaw.
James Shaw, James Monroe District, columnist for the Northern X Sentinel, citizen journalist, kgmedia.top, speaking both in my capacity as EDA member and as King George taxpayer. The Powhatan Road Community Solar Project marks the third solar project that has come through this commission in the past year or two. In reading over the plan that came with tonight's agenda, one can see that these folks have been seeking out and listening to the neighbors. Their plan shows that they are learning from the successes and failures of earlier applicants. Hybrid solar, as I call it, is a growing and developing art and science. King George County has no direct experience yet in this particular farming model, but someone's got to be first. Caledon is also in that neighborhood, and those two groups, I'm sure, are going to talk to one another. Solar and agriculture can harmoniously coexist and prove profitable both on the green power side and on the flora and fauna side. The shade offered by the panels changes the solar impact on the flora underneath, and this is going to open up the opportunity to grow crops and forage that can be a bit different from the traditional crops using well-worn methods. And so this is going to be different, though not problematic. You just gotta, okay, it's different. We're looking forward to see how these folks lead the way as they improve the soil and supply the energy needs of our county grid. Future hybrid solar projects in our county will benefit from their leadership in the hybrid solar ag space. Vote yes.
Thank you. Adrian. Oh, I'm sorry. Paula. Paula?
Yeah.
Okay. Paula Scara. Yeah, that one.
I think she's got a problem fit and left.
Okay. Adrian Hernandez.
So actually, I wasn't even going to speak tonight. Nice to meet you guys. My name is Adriana. I work for Powhatan Plantation. So we are on Powhatan Road. We are going to go against it. We currently board TRF. They're a retired thoroughbred association. We're just afraid there's going to be noises. And I know that you guys say that it's going to be limited, but we need to know that it's going to be limited. We have a major business, a boarding business going on, and we're just not sure if this is going to help us in the long run. It's 9 months. We board from, let's say, March to July. We believe it's going to impact our revenue, such as bringing horses in. They say that they're going to, use Port Conway for like their entrances. We're not sure that that's going to happen if there's, I think, 4 entrances to get in to Powhatan Road. So that's one of our huge concerns that we have is our horse boarding facility. The horses, I know Mr. Carr has horses, but how do we know that it's actually gonna be okay in a way with the noises? And that's just our big concern, our loss in business. So we ask you to take that into consideration. You know, I don't really know what else to say from here. I mean, that was just our biggest concern was the horses and our boarding facility. Besides all that, I think everything, I mean, I hope it all works out for Mr. Carr, but it's just one of those things that we have to, you know, let everybody know that that's one of our biggest concerns.
Thank you. John Clutter? Justin, sorry. Justin Clutter?
So I'm actually the equine manager at Powhatan Plantation, and the majority of our horses are young, 1.5, 2-year-old horses that are in for breaking and training, and it's going to be very unsafe when they're such high flight animals. I'm the one on them, so it's my life at risk when I'm riding these horses, and there's loud noises and banging. And if this is going to keep going on for 6 to 9 months, that's 6 to 9 months that I can't have client horses in there for breaking and training. And then on top of that, we have very, very high-end clients that have horses there that are worth over $50,000. And if they go into a fence and they get hurt, we're the ones getting sued because of that issue. And then on top of that, we also do have, as she mentioned, the older retired horses, same thing. They're there living out the rest of their lives in a peaceful, quiet setting, and that's why they're there. They sent them to us because of the quiet and the relaxing, peaceful area. I'm not sure they're going to keep them there, and we're going to lose all of those clients as well if this does in fact happen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mike Morissette?
Hi, I didn't know I was signing up to speak tonight. I thought it was just who was attending. But anyway, I live on Powhatan Road. I've known Larry for a little over 30 to 35 years. He's just an honest, hardworking man, and he deserves this. As I look at it, it's very low impact to the environment. It's low risk to the county. And I keep hearing everything about noise. And the only thing I can say to the people who own the horse farm over there is there are loud diesel dump trucks, sand and gravel trucks that run right by that property from 7 in the morning till probably 4 or later in the afternoon every weekday. Engine braking at that sharp turn, if you're familiar with the roads over there at Powhatan Road and Port Conway Road. That noise is far greater, and I would say probably more damaging, if there is such a thing as damaging to the horses. And I don't wish them any harm to their horses, but I think that noise is way greater than anything that's going to be generated by this project. I approve.
Thank you. Seeing as we've gone through the sign-up list, is there anyone else here that would like the opportunity to speak during public comment? Please state your name.
Patty Hall, Larry's better half. As far as the concerns about the Powhatan Horse Farm, the majority of the young horses are kept close to the barns, to the center of the property, not on the exterior edges of the property. And again, they are on a road that has it's across from Hop Yard. How many years of construction was going on and still continues at Hop Yard, which is right across from where they keep many of their horses. So I can't see that as being, a huge detriment to their horses. We have horses. Our horses are rescue horses. They're not worth $50,000, but they're worth the world to us. And we would not do anything to endanger them. And again, just to say, Larry doesn't want me to go into this, but 10 years ago, he was very ill. He was hospitalized for 3 months, paralyzed with autoimmune deficiency. He had to give up his properties that he was leasing, farming, because he wasn't able to do that. They didn't think he'd be able to walk again, but he's tough. But that was his income, was farming, leasing all these properties and farming them, and he doesn't have that. And at 72, he's worked hard. He's worked in this county hard all his life, and I think he deserves to. He doesn't want to divide the property. He doesn't want the property to be divided. He doesn't want houses on it. And he feels this is the best way to use some of the property for income and maintain the woods and the forest and the land for our livestock to be on, and the farming, the vegetable farming to continue. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak for open public comment? Is there anyone online?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, then I'm going to close the public comment period. And if the applicant would like to conclude with any comments.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for all your public comments, but specifically thank you both for coming tonight. We did actually speak with the Powhatan Plantation attorney right before this meeting, actually, and we do have a site visit scheduled with them on January 5th with the attorney and the owner, Mr. Guest. So we're very much looking forward to being able to walk the site with them. We have been trying to get a meeting with them for many months, and that is a very big priority for us. So, but noise is absolutely something that, we need to work through and talk through. So among, some other things that the attorney mentioned, but just one other point of clarification, the pile driving, the whole construction period is about 9 months, but the pile driving is only about 10 to 15 days. It's a very quick process for that aspect. So thank you. That's all I have to add.
All right, thank you very much. We will close the public hearing, and then I will open up discussion for members. Mr. Moffitt.
So with previous projects we have, and forgive me if this was addressed last month, but obviously I was not here. Previous projects we've talked about asking or recommending for no foreign adversary solar panel equipment clauses. Is that covered under the DOD portion that they included in here? Do we know? Or is that something we should also discuss and ask for in relation here?
Do you have a specific question for the applicant about?
So I guess the DOD parameters of this that you list, they're going to review the equipment, but does it also prevent the use of foreign adversary manufactured equipment?
No, it's primarily for the EMF aspect of the Department of Defense, not for foreign adversaries.
Are these panels U.S. sourced?
Yeah, I think what you're speaking to is FEOC compliant is FEOC, so foreign entities of concern is like the defined term for that's now required. If you want to get the tax credit for projects that are coming online, you have to have FEOC compliance. So that came this past summer under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. But even before that, our projects have been being built with Hanwha, which we were talking about. It's a South Korean conglomerate that has a joint venture in Georgia, manufactures them in Dalton. The panel brand is called Qcell. So that's the predominant panel that we build on our projects. And that's just where the market's moving, which is a good thing.
Answers my question.
All right, any other discussion? Fox?
I wonder if maybe staff could just summarize what the parameters are for the time frame or time of day and so on, or days of the week when they're allowed to do the pile driving?
Look at the conditions. It is addressed under condition 4. Says construction activities and traffic shall be limited to Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. with no construction on Sundays or federal holidays. And then regarding what their access route is going to be, there's also a condition that they need to work all that out with VDOT. We can't really put a requirement on which roads they have to use, but they do have to have a construction management plan approved.
And as far as the, in general, the benefits of community solar, which sounds great, and the county actually looks like we might be the recipient of some benefit in terms of reduction of power rate potentially. Is that spelled out somewhere for the public to see what that means and how they might avail themselves of that benefit in some way on the website or somewhere else?
We do have information about community solar and how to subscribe, how it works on the Powhatan Road Solar website.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just in terms of the procedurally, like information on when, for this particular project, when that would open, how you would go online or what you would do, maybe just a little public information, how to tap into it.
Yeah.
Specifically. Here.
Happy to. And I have it myself. I've had it for the past almost 3 years. It's pretty nice because I just save 10% every month on my electric bill. So they have it in DC as well. So it's in
project specific thing
for this.
In other words, the people in this county, would they have to dial in specifically to this Powhatan Road project, or is it lumped in with the other 250 or some odd megawatts in some fashion through the state?
Yeah, we actually have the ability to put together like a wait list of residents if there was the right community partners to get people to sign up who wanted to be on it, and then enable them to get early access and provide the education for it. That's an ability because frankly, in one of the costs, the upfront costs when you're financing one of these projects, the owner and operators, and you spend a considerable amount of capital on just marketing and acquiring the customer, right? Getting someone to sign up, create an account, integrate their Dominion Energy bill into the system so that you can then sign them up for the project. We've seen it like in Stafford County, where we've been working with some of the supervisors there and some of the community-based organizations to build a wait list. I think we created a form and got like 30-something people in the community who signed up, but it's something that we're happy to host on the project website and, work closer with whatever the right department within the county is.
I think it would be great.
We'd love to. It saves us money.
Community outreach in terms of
it saves us money.
King
by doing
George
that.
residents might actually take advantage of these benefits, basically.
Yep, you're right. I'm glad you mentioned
procedurally.
Sure.
What's the website?
Yep.
When does it open?
Yep.
What do you do? Just spoon feed folks, right?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Palavota.
Did you calculate the value of the equipment, or do you know how much the taxes will be to King George County?
Yes. So the value of the equipment is around 11 million. That's the total capital investment. I'm blanking on the exact number of property taxes, but I do know it is in that memorandum in your packet. I am blanking on the exact number, but it is in there. It calls it out in the table of contents.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't remember it.
Thank you.
Mr. Nicely, Ms. Moncler?
Have anything? Okay. Yeah, as usual, I've got quite a few questions for you. A couple of them should be really straightforward. You didn't specifically state, but I assume since you're using pile driving, there's no concrete associated with
Correct.
any of these foundations that we have to worry about extracting out of the ground.
That just the only place there would be concrete is on the transformer pad and the
pads for the
switchgear, but not with the steel beams.
There's nothing within the there's no concrete around all the
No.
pilings that have to go with this. Okay, thank you. You didn't make any statement, and maybe it's in the whole memorandum. I didn't get a chance to read through the whole thing. What are you doing for lighting? Do you have any lighting planned for this that's going to cause any issues with neighbors?
No.
Usually there's just.
Whoa. Got a little excited there. Typically, the only light you'll see on a project is at the entrance, just a motion censored light for at night if you need to access for emergency. So, and you won't do anything that's illuminating up. You'll have the right lighting to ensure it goes down.
Right. I was just wondering what lighting you were planning. We've already got ordinances about what your lighting restrictions have got to be, which you'll comply with. So that's fine. I'm just wondering if there was any additional lighting. One of my concerns goes with this construction and the disturbance with the neighbors. I would actually kind of prefer that you actually limit your construction to daylight hours, right? 7 o'clock. This time of the year, you're going to still be out there doing construction. That's not going to work. If we could just limit it to the daylight hours, then it'll adjust seasonally with whatever it is. So that's one concern I have. Another concern I have is kind of leaving this kind of open and vague for us about the way you're going to deliver things on these roads. Port Conway Road is the only road coming in there that's really kind of appropriate for the size delivery trucks you got. You're not going to come around through the other roads. They're really small. And I'd prefer you guys actually restrict yourself to and let us know what your entrance is going to be. The other one that I didn't see is anything about stating that you'll deal with any damages to the roads that might occur from the construction and the hauling, right? We don't want to be paying for road repairs because of your trucks. In the past, we've had those sorts of statements that have been brought in. You're going to comply, with the closest, pick some distance that says any road damage that gets identified by VDOT, you all will take care of repairing and not rely on the county and the state to have to repair for your damages. I didn't see anything about that. I'm okay with the soil and water testing. That's been laid out pretty clearly. I'm a little concerned in the past with all the other solar projects that we've had. We've had some pretty decent discussions about stormwater management plans and seen some at least draft plans. I know we're not the experts, but I don't see any indication that you guys plan to put any sort of best practices, stormwater retention, nothing. I see a layout that shows where your solar panels are going to be. Nothing about where you have any inkling yet at all about where stormwater has got to be. I'm a little concerned that you say, just trust us. We'll get it approved by somebody else. I'd at least like to see some preliminaries of where you think your stormwater management best practices have got to be installed in this, if any, right? It is relatively flat. There's one little swell in it, it looks like, but you've got some stormwater, streams there pretty close. What are you going to do? What's your at least preliminary ideas? I don't see anything. And I followed one of the earlier comments. I don't know how you would do this. Mr. Stewart, maybe since you know that project, that policy and that program really well, is there any way that we could put an early limitation of only King George County subscribers could subscribe to it for the first period of time? Y'all could figure out some way to do, is there any way to do that? I'd hate to have us build a solar farm and people from Alexandria get the utility bill benefits because they're quicker on the draw of getting subscriptions. I'd like to at least give the residents of this county a chance before it's opened up to people from Norfolk or Alexandria to get their utilities paid for because King George has put in a solar farm. Exactly. Absolutely. None of these things, these are just things I would like to see considered. We can't ask for any proffers or conditions or anything like that. But these are the types of things that I have some little bit of concern with. And I think that ends my list of issues.
Thank you. Mr. Kendrick.
I would comment that from my point of view, I think this board's hesitant on really large solar. Yeah. So I think the Board of Supervisors has been sort of obvious about staying away from really large solar projects. And what I've seen us gravitate toward are the smaller ones. This, in my opinion, is a smaller one. I look at that site and there's not much vegetation on it. It doesn't look like. I will admit I have not been out there just recently to look at it. But, you know, you're going to get a lot of surface drainage anyway. I just don't see a whole lot of surface drainage. But I think Mr. Nicely's right. It needs to be at least considered, analyzed, and something put in place if it needs to be. All right. But this is the kind of project that I think is pretty reasonable for us to experiment with for solar farms in the county. I don't have a lot of personal experience with them. I see them driving up and down the road like everybody else, but you know, the issues that come out of them are not immediately obvious to me. They're relatively straightforward. They don't have a lot of environmental impact. The biggest complaint most folks have with them is they're sort of unsightly. I'd rather look at trees than look at a solar panel, but you know, it's relatively clean production of electricity going onto the grid. So I'm inclined to this one, or at least forward it on for a group. It seems like a good opportunity for us to get some experience. We're going to learn from these things over time, but for right now, I can't see a major issue that bothers me. There will be noise during construction, but construction is limited. I mean, from start to finish, you're looking at what? 3 months, 4 months? Or is it more like 6?
We like to give ourselves, I'd rather under promise and over deliver. We just built one in Alabama half the size, and the pile driving took 10 business days, so half the size. Yeah.
Looking at your schedule, though, you're looking at, there's not a lot of groundwork to be done.
No.
All right. So driving the piles, you had estimated, I think, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
That's overestimating. The actual erection of the equipment, you're going to be using power tools, I'm sure. But,
yep.
You know,
Yes,
that's
sir.
the kind of noise that goes on any business site or construction site. I would assume even at the farm that some of that kind of noise, or at least farm equipment. So, I mean, I guess I'm not hearing anything that's got concern. So I'm inclined to go with this.
All right. I had a question about the justification for the changing of the buffer. I think you're requesting type B, and type C is what is required.
Yes, and Kelly might be able to help me shed more into the technical aspect, but the reason being is the buffer type C is more for commercial industrial type uses, whereas the type B buffer is more centered towards around what this use is considered as in the ordinance. So for that reasoning, and just purely the extent of planting as wide of a buffer as the type C requires, we often find that a bigger, taller buffer does not equate to a better buffer. We would rather have strategic, height placement so that the buffer lasts and grows, rather than just having, many, many rows of trees that might die and because they're tall and, it just is a lot. That's why.
Okay, and then the other question I have is your noise standards that you proposed were, can you explain to me why it was 60 and then 50 at the nearest residential dwelling?
Was that on the site plan or?
I wrote it down so I don't have to keep trying to go through the whole packet.
I think, I believe in the ordinance, it requires that we have to.
You want me to read it for you?
Yeah, please.
All right, so it's during operation, the solar facility will not produce a noise level that exceeds 60 decibels as measured at the property line or 50 decibels as measured at the nearest neighboring dwelling, existing at the date of approval. And those are not overly loud.
Yeah, and I do believe that is the requirement in the ordinance as well.
Well, the ordinance doesn't state anything about the nearest dwelling. It's only at the property lines, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
It's just saying it'll be quieter
Yeah. And
at the dwelling.
Yeah.
Requirement than what the ordinance requires, and she can propose something stricter if she wants, just not something less.
My only concern with that was that it's for the way the dwellings are currently. And if somebody wanted to put a house near this farm, they would deserve the same protection of what the ordinances call for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's probably in the best interest of consistency for the county. We just stick with what the ordinance is and comply with the ordinance. I mean, 50 is pretty tough to distinguish from just ambient noise. So I think you're getting into a slippery slope. So I would probably suggest we don't.
And just for reference,
I would feel more comfortable with that just because we don't want to have to guess what noises are for every project that comes before us. So if we stick with the ordinance, then we're able to be consistent.
We're okay. We're in agreement with that. We're agreeable to that.
Can't hear you.
I appreciate their offer to go above and beyond, but from a practical standpoint, we wouldn't probably enforce to that level. I appreciate it, but it's probably not necessary. My biggest concern is the noise during construction, which I don't think will be that great, but as long as you're sensitive to it. And during the construction phase, when most of your trucks are delivering panels and so forth, you're sensitive to the traffic on the road. It's not a very big road. You don't want to impede anybody else. I heard a comment about the school buses. Just be sensitive to it. Be smart, be reasonable, and you won't have issues with this. I don't know if you'll be back before us anytime soon. But it's nice that you keep that in mind as you decide to. I mean, the county is looking for projects that will produce income, tax income, that don't burden the infrastructure. This, in my mind, is one that does.
Yes.
Abiding by the noise ordinance, this would be considered a utility since it's hooking up with Dominion. And I'm guessing that's why they put that condition in there, but perhaps they would just revise their condition to say they will be bound by the county noise ordinance.
I appreciate that. That sounds like it's agreeable to everyone. So again, I think I also know that construction noise was an issue with the last project that came before the Board of Supervisors, and they requested no construction on Saturday and Sundays. I am concerned about the repair of roads to current or better standards than they are now. Is that comprehensive? And
Can I-
the
Can I
noise?
address that, Madam Chair?
Sure.
It is addressed in condition 13, I believe. It says the construction management plan shall address traffic control measures, a pre and post construction road evaluation, and any necessary repairs to the public road that are required as a result of damage from the project. So that will be addressed.
Perfect.
Look, I was looking into conditions on page 34 in their packet, and that one is not in their packet, in the conditions identified on page 34 and 35. So, yeah, so they've changed their conditions from their package.
Throughout the review process, yes. The final ones are in the PC resolution.
All right, any further discussion on what we think we can all agree on?
Just one last question. The tax revenue, the $278,000, that's the total revenue over the 40-year lifespan.
Is that M&T tax, machine and tools?
Yes. And
There's also underlining real estate tax. That's
that's $65,000 on top of 213.
Okay, yeah.
So that would be the entire life of the project, correct?
That's right.
Well, I would encourage any program to give early access or preferred access to low-income residents, and maybe through our Department of Social Services, they could identify how to advertise that in those
Would love that.
That, as you probably are aware, that road is a key school bus link road in the county.
I've seen it, yeah.
It's absolutely, a key linkage. So as long as you can schedule your deliveries around the morning and afternoon drop
Yeah,
times,
definitely.
I think that'd be a big help for the community too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so
Very reasonable to request that from.
It's eminently doable.
Exactly. And it's really not the solar panels, you can deliver all the solar panels for that project with 14 trucks. So, and you would do that on like 1 or 2 delivery cycles. So managing, I guess from a management perspective, it's very doable to manage it.
Yeah, and you've probably done your route survey at some point, so you know the aggregate trucks are rolling mostly in the early morning time anyway, which is the school bus time, which you don't want to be doing, right?
Yep, we can be flexible.
See these conditions.
all right, Mr. Pelavoda.
I just wanted to clarify what you had just said. It sounds like that might be an error. It says over a 4-year period, the project is expected to generate approximately, and it lists 213 in the machinery and tools tax and 65,000 in real estate tax. Would that not be the annual amount? I think you cited $11 million of equipment.
Cumulative, that's over time.
Is there,
The capital investment is 11 million. And then that's what the millage rate is applied.
so your
Along with
taxes
like a
would only be, they would only be for like 5,000 a month? A year? It doesn't sound right.
Do we have a table in the?
The machine and tools tax is it's depreciated. It follows a state exemption schedule that plays into the total capital investment, which is the 11 million, and the real estate tax rate. That all gets calculated for the machine and tools tax. For the first 5 years, it's exempted at an 80% rate, and then for the next 5 years it steps down to, I believe, 70%, and then for the remaining, I believe, 10 to 40 years it steps down to a 60% exemption rate. So that rate is the annual machine and tools tax, plays into the 213,000 over the 40 years. So that 213,000 is the total tax revenue for approximately 35, 40 years for machine and tools tax.
Okay, so that's about 5,000 a year?
About, yes. Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so Does everybody have a chance to voice their concerns? Is there some consensus that we can come to make a motion?
Yeah, I've just got some minor concerns that I'd like to see some of their conditions tightened up. I went through my concerns.
And just to touch base in the stormwater piece, I mean, the states, they can't do anything without state approval, which is going to be a lot more stringent than anything we can do here. So I understand there's not necessarily a plan on the paper, but they're just not going to be allowed to do anything unless the state.
I understand, but we've been through, this is the third or fourth one that we've gone through. And, the last big one we had, we spent a tremendous amount of time pulling that company through a very fine, rigorous, small orifice to bug them about stormwater management plans. And here we are just going, well, they got to do is say we're going to comply with state standards.
We did, but to Mr. Kendrick's,
the company said too, and
Mr. Kendrick's point though, we're evolving and learning as we go, and maybe we didn't need to do that at the time.
For me, the difference was that they were going under wetlands, and the amount of acreage in close proximity to wetlands was a lot more than this one. But if we have concerns, we can add those to a motion.
I think the only concerns are really, the primary ones are around traffic and noise. But generally speaking, I think everybody's in agreement that this is an appropriate use of land under the comp plan in this location, is what I'm hearing at least.
A very forgiving site too. I'll make a motion.
All right, Mr. Fox.
Okay, correct me if I get this wrong, but I move that we forward application Z 2025-00304 for the Powhatan Road Solar Farm project to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for approval.
Point of order, Mr. Fox, could you also look at the second sentence in the draft motion about the comp plan compliance?
Would you like to amend your motion?
I hereby amend my motion to say that I further move that the Planning Commission finds that the project to be in substantial accord with the comprehensive plan.
Second, okay.
All right, can we have any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Okay. All right, sheet. Okay, do I need to clarify that? Okay, I just wanted to check on one thing. Okay, so motions are approval from Mr. Fox, seconded by Mr. Kendrick. Mr. Kendrick?
Aye.
Mr. Palavoto?
Aye.
Mr. DeCorda?
Aye.
Mr. Maffett?
Aye.
Mr. Fox?
Aye.
Ms. Moncur? Abstain? Okay. Mr. Nicely?
With the current conditions, I have to say nay.
And Ms. Flatley? Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Moving on the agenda, there are no items deferred from previous meetings. There's no special presentations, old business or new business. So may we please have the staff report?
Under staff reports, we have the usual permit numbers year to date. We'll put together an annual report to present to you all in January for kind of cumulative of 2025. On a staff level, we've got some openings coming up. We did hire one permit technician, but we're going to be looking for another one. So that job's going to be coming open probably in the next day or two. Other than that, we are rolling along, doing our end of year permitting counts. And as far as next month's meeting, I think you'll get to that a little bit later on the agenda, but we'll do our reorganizational meeting, elections, schedule adoption, and bylaws adoption. So if you have any changes that you're thinking about, be thinking about that for the January meeting.
Great, thank you. All right, no committee reports. So we're going
to. Before we go, do we have any update on the comprehensive plan getting
Yes.
that under contract? I'm sorry if I missed that.
No, that's okay. We're drafting the RFP right now to get out probably early to mid-January.
Okay. So how long will it take from that RFP?
Oh, I'm kind of new to that whole thing. I think we give people a couple of months to submit.
Usually at least 30 days. I didn't know your approval process, 2 to 3 more months. Okay, I see Matt shaking his head.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I was reading in a Board of Supervisors minutes that there's some desire to accelerate the schedule for actually accomplishing it. Are you contemplating that? It's a long, laborious process that includes a number of meetings with the public. I
Yeah.
would hate to see us abbreviate that and not give the citizens of the county the fair, ample opportunity to comment on it. I'd also appreciate what we've done in the past is have a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors to understand
The scope.
clearly from them where they're wanting to drive the comprehensive plan
Yeah.
and the issues they have with the current one. Not that necessarily means we have to change our attitude, but I would like to hear what they've got on their minds rather than parsing through their rather minutes.
Yeah.
Do you believe it's worth us doing that before we get the contractor?
No, I
under
think
him?
you ought to proceed with the contractor and even with the meetings with the county residents. But sometime during that time frame, over the next 3, 4, 5 months, whatever it is, I'd welcome the opportunity to hear the Board of Supervisors' attitude.
Well, we'll try to set up another joint session.
All right, thank you. So we're going to just continue our discussion about models for county-based land conservation, and I've invited Lisa Beaver to give us some information. I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we can have a short discussion, and then we'll follow up with some questions for you probably.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Flatley. So I'm Lisa Beaver. I'm the executive director of the Northern Neck Land Conservancy, and I was just very excited to listen to the discussion last month about just different options for protecting land in the county. I live in the county, so we serve King George all the way down to Lancaster, Whitestone, that area. We also serve Essex County on the Middle Peninsula, but I'm passionate about King George, and there's a lot of development pressure, obviously. So if we can be part of, graceful growth in King George, that's what we'd love to be a part of. I heard some comments about land banks, purchase of development rights, and just gathered a little bit of information together. So, and I'm not an expert on locality programs by any mean, but I have some familiarity and have a lot of experience with donated conservation easements and a bit of experience with purchased conservation easements. So I think just to let you know that Northern Neck Land Conservancy would be very available for committee work or discussions or just, research that we might be able to do, or happy to do that kind of thing. I know in Stafford County, Northern Virginia Conservation Trust works pretty closely with the Stafford Purchase of Development Rights program, mostly doing co-promotion. They're not typically co-holding easements or working, not so involved in the process, but definitely cross-promoting, helping tell the stories of conserved lands and the families that are conserving land, why, what the values are that they're bringing to that land protection, which are great stories, which attract more people to voluntarily, protect their property, which I think is a great value of donated conservation easements like we mostly do, or a purchase of development rights. And this is something that I've heard from colleagues that work on PDR programs, is that it's voluntary on both sides. Landowners are coming to it because they're interested in open space land. They have a love for, the farm they were born on, or the land that they were lucky enough to purchase, or, but for whatever reason, they're interested in open space land protection. So they're volunteering for the process. And then my understanding of how a PDR program works is that the locality has in the county code criteria for, what, what kinds of things they're trying to do with their program, what their goals are. And it's, there's like a rubric for evaluating. So landowners will say, put their application in. I'd like to be considered to have my development rights purchased. And then the county would review those based on their criteria and based on the amount of funding that they had available, and would do these purchases based on that criteria. And I have done a little bit of asking around about how localities are funding their purchase of development right programs. It's everything from levying a tax, a temporary occupancy tax, using rollback taxes, and then there's also grant funding out there that's available for this kind of program. So, also, I did hear, we definitely hear a lot about just different perceptions that people have about conservation easements in the work that we do when we're doing outreach in our localities. So I usually tell people, if you've seen one easement, you've seen one easement, that they're as different as people's property are and as different as their reasons are for trying to, for being interested in this kind of project. That the terms of the easement will be that different. And we have a template that we use that has some basic, rights that landowners might decide to reserve and restrictions that we would like to see landowners adhere to. And then that's discussed. And so some landowners will say, I'll relinquish all my timber rights. Well, we're not going to cut this for timber anymore. Some do not want to they want to be able to cut their land for timber. So we do hear from people, though, that, that will come and tell you what you can grow or that you can't hunt, or that, we are very much want to see land farmed. We, we really believe in rural values and rural, sort of these heritage activities that we grew up with. So we're not trying to limit those in any way. And so that's not something that's mandatory that has to be done. Also, people will have two opinions about conservation easements: either that it means that anybody can come on your property, which is not true. It's, it's still your private property, or that the public can't go on the property. And that really is, again, up to the landowner and the locality. That's all sort of up for discussion. We know of projects where landowners and land trusts and have worked together to create a public access opportunity, or that might not be included in the easement at all. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Or
all right, I think we're going to have a little discussion, and then I certainly appreciate the time and effort that you volunteered to do this. And I asked who we should contact on this. Your name was the only one that came up. And everybody I said that you were going to take a look at this with us was enthusiastic about you. So thank you
that's great
so much.
to hear. We have a good team.
So my question is, how do we want to move forward on this? I know that I have a great deal of knowledge deficit in this area. And so I just want to make sure that we attack this in a way where we set some goals and don't end up being so vague that this doesn't get embraced.
Do we have any information on other local, other counties that have these sorts of programs in place? I mean, it's one thing to hear about, Massachusetts and, Martha's Vineyard, but that's a whole different political world than here in Virginia.
Stafford County has an active purchase of development rights. I think they also do transfer of development rights.
Okay.
Fauquier, there are several. I could email that over. Some points of contact.
I think it would be really great to get some points of contact and maybe some other policies or documentation they have about their program, so that we could take a best of approach instead of trying to create something from scratch.
Okay, and the Office of, I believe it's called the Office of Farmland Preservation. It's the one that administers the Century Farm program, moved from VDAX to Department of Forestry, and they were not staffed for a while, but I think they're up and staffed, and I think that would be a state source of resources to localities, I believe.
Yeah, it'd be really great for us to get some that we can use and take a best of. I'd hate for us to start from scratch.
So, and primarily what she's talking about is development rights. What you brought up last month was a land bank, which is a different entity. And
Yeah, let me talk through that. Thank you so much for coming. I think we have available to us on the conservation side and preservation side adequate resources and competent people. We just have to promote, become aware. I think if we're going to be a low development, high tourism area, then conservation is our product, is our sale, is our viewscapes, our water access. We need riding trails, we need a golf course, we need amenities to draw people, in addition to our beautiful clean air and miles of beautiful shoreline. There is a tension between agritourism, hospitality, and conservation. There is tension between passive and active recreation and conservation. But there are ways to negotiate through that, both in the donated rights. Virginia, the Commonwealth, is very generous to landowners for putting their land in conservation. And that could be a pathway. There are localities that do have land banks, which is a complementary system in which the county owns title, not just title to development rights, but title to the land. It acquires land by forfeiture, taxation forfeiture, by fee simple acquisition, by condemnation, a variety of methods. We also own a good deal of land ourselves. I mean, right now, King George has a big inventory of land. My supervisor, Bill, says, I dream of a biggest flea market on the East Coast year round. You know, I talked to somebody else and said, we need a livestock market. All these small growers doing lambs and goats and small ruminants. I talked to somebody who was on the planning commission for Martha's Vineyard for 35 years. The jurisdiction buys farms and then leases it back to farmers, both the original or subsequent ones, and horse riding stables, because they can't afford the tax. But the revenue is offset by recreational activities hosted by the property. I asked him, his farm has been there since 1740. It's Allen Farm. You can go visit it. He's still running sheep. The USDA pays him $3 a foot for putting fence in, and he's doing all right. And he'll hold his farm, and his grandchildren will hold that farm. And he's got agritourism. He's got a wedding venue. He's got people coming to pet the lambs. And it would not be possible without programs like this. Big dairy farm, cheese farm up there. Yeah, Martha's Vineyard, they say, is, you know, oh, it's all full of rich people. No, King George is a higher median income than Martha's Vineyard. I mean, they have a year-round, I mean, they're not as year-round as we are, but 40 years ago, they dedicated to what we're trying to do is be a non-industrial, non-development, heritage-focused, lifestyle tourist destination. And, you know, I don't think we can get there passively. So I think I asked him what one thing he would have done different 30 years ago, and he would have said housing for the locals, affordable housing for the locals, because that's gone. And he said another golf course.
so I think that is a wonderful vision. My question is, what is the next step in making that happen? And I have concerns about handing it over to the Board of Supervisors when they have non-land use responsibilities. So I would support you on that if that's the motion you want to make. I have concerns about whether or not that would be the most.
I'm not ready to make a motion to that effect, and I don't think I'm the right person to do it. My tenure on this body is limited. I think, I mean, I'd be happy to gather more information to share with this group, to bring to the board on land banks if there is interest to do so. And I would welcome the assistance of one more planning commissioner who can carry this work after.
Okay, I also know that Lisa has volunteered to come back next month. Excuse me, Miss Guys. So we've had the opportunity for Lisa to come back next month and give us some more definitions on these processes and how they can help us. I want to continue this process. And if that's something that you
Right,
want to.
and I do want to say, I'm engaging the Northern Neck Conservation and the three other, we were members of 4. The county is a member of 4 different conservation. The Friends of Rappahannock is another. And they all have regional specific agendas. The Rappahannock people are interested in the Rappahannock. Northern Neck is, I think, the more comprehensive regional group with the competencies and legal staff that we don't need to recreate that wheel. We need to throw more work their way.
Anybody else have any discussion?
I could. Well, I apologize. I'm all for looking into this, but I would just like a clearer understanding of what our goal is, what we're trying to accomplish by doing this. I mean, I have concerns about the county owning a lot of property, trying to operate it. That's just going to increase, operating expenses of the county. I'm not quite sure. I'm fine with the idea of conserving land so that it's sort of taken out of the possibility of development. I particularly like the one where the owners retain ownership of it and retain certain rights, while putting it in a conservancy like that, right? But I'm not sure I'm on board with the idea of the county buying up land. I agree wholeheartedly that there needs to be affordable housing for our own residents, but I'm not sure I would advocate for the county being the owner and operator of it. So, I mean, I guess I'm just looking for a clearer understanding or a clearer statement of what our goal is.
Our goal is this simple. Route 3 does not look like Garrisonville Road in 40 years. That's our goal. I mean, I can't say it any simpler. If there are other ways to get there, love to hear it. This is one possible way to get there.
By picking up land or buying land, putting in restrictions, or is it done through zoning? Those kind of things. I'm not saying no. In fact, I'm interested in it because, like you said, I don't know much about it, but I'd like to learn, and I think it's worth the discussion. It's just I want to get it into some kind of mind space so we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I see it as a tool that we need to understand better so that we can figure out what our part to play. I mean, obviously we can't make landowners do, things that they don't want to do, but what can we do to promote this as an opportunity for our county?
Right. All due respect to the Board of Supervisors, we should be in the business of presenting things to them for their consideration, not sitting around and waiting on them to tell us what they want us to. I'm perfectly fine with it. If we can come up with some definitive goal and objective, then I'm all for it, but it's an idea, but I don't quite understand the boundaries, what the objective.
Let me state the objective again. The objective is to not have Route 3 look like Harrisonville Road in 30 years. But it is also to give relief, property tax relief on these farmers that they can't make enough growing hay to pay the county taxes. So they have to sell their land and they build houses on it. This is to be able to own the development rights. And they stay on the farms, they lease it back, and their property taxes are taken care of for their lifetime. This is for getting property tax relief to people over 65. This is about taking care of King George's residents who are here today. You know, not the ones that were going to come here in 10, 20, 30 years. But we are facing a future of great uncertainty and a tremendous amount of development pressure and very few tools for heritage protection. We're trying to change that equation, to push back on the development pressure with a better story, with an alternative story.
All right, Mr. Fox. All right, Mr. Moffett.
It would seem to me that this would be an appropriate discussion to have alongside a review and redeployment of the comprehensive plan, because there are going to be things within the comprehensive plan that we're going to want to achieve as a county. And this would be a tool to help us get there. So I think there's a good opportunity to spend the next couple months sort of in a fact-finding mode to look into these types of programs and these types of tools. And they can be very, very impactful. Having come from New England, I've seen their use not grossly, but at a large scale standpoint throughout New Hampshire for wilderness protection as well. We just don't need to get into details, but I've seen them work, and they do work. But we do need to have rationale for why we'd pursue this. And I feel like the comprehensive plan is the appropriate vector to get there. So that's probably what I would recommend. Fact finding for a couple of months, understanding, and then as we go through that process, perhaps we make recommendations to the board in terms of we would recommend these types of tools be at the county's disposal if opportunities should arise to get to point ABC as lined out in the comp plan.
Okay, so I did take the initiative to ask Ms. Beaver to come and do a presentation next month to educate us further. Other than that, are we we're willing to take this? You know, we can continue to ask questions. If you'd like, you can email me questions and I can forward them so that you're not getting 8 different people emailing you. I'll compile any questions and send them to her prior to our next meeting. Is that sufficient?
Sure.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, so now future business, we need to set a meeting time and date for January 2026. There is a date proposed on our agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion that we have our next Planning Commission meeting on January 13th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I have one more item for discussion. And it would be the equipment. Hey, Kelly, for the equipment, are we scheduled for a refresh next year?
It's budget season, so that's a very good question.
Okay.
The Chromebooks.
It'd be appreciated.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I do know that some of them are not functioning up to par. Eric from our IT team has tried to do some work on, I believe on Miss Flatley's, you're not even using yours, but I understand why. So yeah, let me get with Chris. Chris, I know you're listening. Chris and Eric and IT just to see what the budget would be for some new Chromebooks.
On the same line, for training, we have a new member, and
Yeah.
I'd like to sign us both up for the next available class. That's
Okay. I will look at the schedule. You too? Okay.
Yeah, if there's anybody, anybody who hasn't taken it should take it.
Okay, so I got 4 people interested in the next, I will get the schedule for the next couple of classes.
Thank you.
All right, before we adjourn, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a safe and Happy New Year. This meeting is adjourned. Oh,
Co-host.
supposed to have them, sorry.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm still
Second.
fairly new at this.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for showing some grace.